So I went back into No Man's Sky this afternoon, recorded a video, that didn't work out. I had a few problems with it, but I'll probably show some of the footage that I did manage to get from that in this video anyway. But this is the first time I've been back into No Man's Sky on my PC using my Quest 3 since I got the PSVR2 quite a few months ago now. And I thought with this latest update in No Man's Sky, the Orbitals update, which is the most recent in a long line of updates, this game, it's had sort of 20 updates, something like that, since launch back in 2016, all completely free. And even back in 2016, I was a big fan of No Man's Sky anyway. I enjoyed that basic game, although I can't deny it was missing certain features that were sort of spoken about before launch. So I don't really have a problem with people that did have an issue when that game was launched. But I enjoyed it back then, and since then it's just had so many features added. And with these constant free updates, it's been just a great experience. And when they released it and got VR support in there a few years ago now, it was fantastic, and I've been intermittent with it. I've played No Man's Sky to death really at this point, so it's not a game that I play all the time, but I enjoy going back in and playing it every now and again, and that's exactly what I've done. I've gone back in on my PC using virtual desktop wireless with the Quest 3, and it was great this afternoon. So my settings are, I was trying to get the sort of similar kinds of settings to what I play on PSVR2, which is it's running in reprojection. So the PSVR2 version runs in constant reprojection, 120 hertz in the headset, and it's running at 60 frames per second. And you have the option to do that on virtual desktop as well. And it utilizes the synchronous space warp, the feature in virtual desktop, and you can force that on all the time. So that's what I did in the Quest 3 today, running at 120 hertz in the headset, and then I forced 60 FPS constant synchronous space warp, which is like the virtual desktop version of a synchronous space warp, which is the Oculus implementation of reprojection. And it was working great. It looks great. And it's actually, for the most part, it's better than the PSVR2 version, but there's an important caveat that I'll get to in a second. And when I first played the PSVR2 version of No Man's Sky, I said on the Recentered podcast, and maybe even on this channel on its own video, I can't remember now, but it's sort of the best way, all things considered, to play No Man's Sky in VR. And what I mean by that is the cost of entry, you need a PS5, you need a PSVR2, and the actual cost of entry isn't that high compared to playing it on like a high-end PC, which is really required for No Man's Sky. It's such a demanding game on PC, and you get a fantastic experience. It's using dynamic foveated rendering in the PSVR2, one of the best features of that headset, honestly, and it looks crystal clear, it looks great. There's some aliasing issues in it and stuff, but the actual immersion that you get with the PSVR2, that OLED display, even in spite of that reprojection, it's still a fantastic experience. And like I say, I'll repeat, that all things considered, I do think that remains one of the best ways to play No Man's Sky in VR. But today, going back in on my Quest 3 on the PC version of No Man's Sky, locking it at those 60 FPS, it was a very comparable experience to the PSVR2, but you've got various options. If you've got a powerful enough PC, then you can up the resolution scaling. You can also run at native frame rates if you want to do that. Now, my system, it can manage native frame rates. I was getting okay performance at sort of 80 hertz, 90 hertz, 80 frames per second, 90 frames per second, but actually, I think I was getting overall better experience when I was using that 120 locked at 60 FPS. It's just the consistency. The only thing is, playing No Man's Sky on PC, it's not as consistent as it is on the PSVR2. It's just not. And I can't, not on my system at least, I can't get a setting which will give me any level of consistency in the same way that I'll get on the PSVR2. Even if I lower settings all the way down, lower resolution scaling down, and all of these other things, I still can't get it to run consistently. And what that results in is sort of frame spikes, frame timing spikes, and sharp stutters every now and again. And you don't get that to the same level on the PSVR2. So as a like cost of entry, again, I will say that the PSVR2 is probably, all things considered, the best way to play No Man's Sky. But today I was having a great time in there with the Quest 3, locking it at 60 FPS. Now, the advantage of the PC version and using virtual desktop, synchronous space warp, or asynchronous space warp on the Oculus side is that implementation of reprojection running at half frame rates is so much better than it is on the PSVR2. It's barely noticeable in certain areas. Now, you've got the usual telltale signs that you can do. So you can wave a hand in front of your face in No Man's Sky and you'll notice that there's slight blurring. If you do this on the PSVR2 version, you'll notice this easily. You'll notice a clear blurring effect when you do this. But on the PC version, although it's there, it's nowhere near as noticeable. I mean, nowhere near. I don't think anybody, you could this is sort of an objective fact, I would say. You could give this to anybody and they would say that it's a better implementation of reprojection. And not only that, but when you're also in the cockpit and using the Elite Dangerous Super Cruise equivalent, flying from one planet to another, and you've got all of these sort of bright lights that are flying past you, you'll notice that there is some kind of distortion and warping on the canopy of the ship that you're in, and that's sort of an artifact of reprojection as well on the synchronous space warp side, but it's barely noticeable. And also, the other thing I noticed lately by playing on the Quest 3, one of the things in that section where you've got these bright lights that are going past you as you're making your way towards a planet, previously on various versions, like previous versions of Virtual Desktop or even Airlink and other ways that you play wirelessly or over the cable, where it has to use the encoding and decoding of the video signal in order to get it over to the Quest 3 or Quest 2, you'll notice really pretty severe compression artifacts on those sections. It's really, really noticeable on those sections. Today I was playing it, I could barely see anything. So everything is improving in terms of wireless and the encoding and decoding. And it was great. It was great today. The only thing I would say is that with the PSVR2, you get more consistency. And on balance, cost of entry, all things considered, that is still a great way to play No Man's Sky in VR. I think if you have a really, really powerful PC, then yeah, you're going to get a better experience overall on that platform with a Quest 3 now. Even without the dynamic foveated rendering of the eye tracking and stuff, with a powerful enough PC, you can ramp up the resolution scaling, you can run at native frame rates, but you will still get occasional intermittent stutters. At least that's my impression. I can lower settings right the way down on my system to give me a taste of what it might be like on a much higher powered system, and you still get those intermittent stutters, those sharp frame spikes every now and again, which is unfortunate. But yeah, just a quick take on how No Man's Sky stacks up now on the PC. And I'm going to play a little bit more because I don't really dive into No Man's Sky too much anymore. I've sort of played it to death, and it's something that I enjoy going into and experiencing every now and again, but it's not something that I am really that dedicated to anymore. It's a fantastic game. If you've not played it, I would highly recommend it anyway. I think it's one of the best VR titles and gives you so much scope and so much freedom, but there's also a lot of deep gameplay mechanics there as well to enjoy. So yeah, just a quick take there. But that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.